Everyone. Yeah, very good morning. Shall we begin the session? Today's topic is the office.dll. So whenever we are using DLL, that is a dynamic link library, it is used as a reference to the Word 2003 PIA. And it also adds additional references to the standalone VBID. So whenever we are taking out the Microsoft.office.core.pia, the program that is written, these programs will be, we can say the guideline or the additional PIA that are the one that the word PIA depends on. And standalone is a PIA that contains the definition, whatsoever the definition we are using up, that contains the definition of some of the types that COM object model used. And VBIDE is a PIA for the object model associated with the VBA editor integrated into the Office. So whatever the editor, whatever the follow-up we are taking out, so that is used with the integrated into the Office. And Microsoft.office.core, office.dll is a PIA for the common functionality shared by all the Office applications, such as the object model for the toolbars and the menus. And note that the proper references have been given to the standalone application. So let's start writing the code. So double click on the program CS. That tends to be the program cs.file that gives you an outline of the toolbar of the menu that will be given, that will be sign mode. So now let's start the session again. When we talk about the PIA, that is a common functionality for Office application. That means the same interface we can use, same console application we can use. So now we can say that proper references have been added to the console application. So let's start writing the code first again. Double click on the program.cs in the Solution Explorer window to edit the main source code for the console application. And if you have outlining turned on, you can see the text using at the top of the program.cs. So at the top of the margin, there is a program.cs that contains the source code of the programming part for the coding, we can say. When we click on the plus sign, this will be used to expand out of the code, whatever you code that is written in this, where the using directives are placed. And add the following three using directives so that you can easily or more easily use objects from the word PIA. And the Microsoft.office.core PIA is also used with the classes in the system.input output space. And when I say about the using Office, that is equals to the Microsoft.office.core using Word, Microsoft.office.interrupt.word using system.input output. The three files, these three, we can say the categories are used for the directives that is used with the Word PIA and the Office application. This is a solution Word Wiki properties, references. And again, there are 4 parts: standalone, system, system.data, system.xml, VBIDE, then Word. That also includes the program.cs. When you add the Word 2003 PIA, dependent PIA references are automatically added to the project. They are automatically going forward to the project. But we can change them with various namespaces. So we do not have to type the entire namespace, such as Microsoft.office.interrupt.word every time, but we declare only the Word objects. With the help of this alias, you can just type Word to specify the namespace, to specify the Word document and the Office, instead of just typing interrupt.word and importing all the types into the global scope. So whatever the data, whatever the 100 of the billions of the data we are using up, whatever the Word files we are using up, we do not have to maintain all these types names potentially colliding with the types we define in our code and with other reference type. And also for the purpose of this book, this code is, or the code is clearer when it says Word.application rather than the application, because this code will have a purpose of the book. So when you know about the namespace, this application coming up or application type is coming up. Now we are now ready to write some code that automates the work to create a table after reading an text input file. So when we talk about the entire listing, so that explains various lines of code in that listing. So we focus on the line of code that automates the word and automates for how to read a text file in .NET and pass a string via split method. And we briefly touch on the some objects in the word model. But when you say about the programming word, working with the word events, working with the word objects, respectively, so this covers the word object model in much more detail. And the first thing that we do is to declare a new instance of the word application object by adding this line of code to the main method of the program. Word.application, the application, new word.application. This new word application will be used with the application database or interface, sorry. And although Word.application is an interface, but we are going to create a new instance of this interface because the compiler knows that the Word.application interface is associated with the COM object that it knows how to start. And whenever there is a word starts in response to an automation executable, so that creates a new instance of its application objects. It starts up without showing any windows, without showing any windows, without gaming up, without looking up for the new instance of its application, it shows the windows. And you can also automate the word in this invisible state when you want to automate the word without taking or without confusing the users by bringing up the word window. And for this example, we want to make Word show its main window, main database, and we do so by adding this line of code. This is the visible equals to true. First line that is given with used with the Word application. That application will be used with the line of the code that is used to create a new instance. Then for showing the main window, this is used by adding the line. The application.visible equals to true. Next, we want to create a new empty Word document into which we still generate our table. So we do this by using the add method from the document collection that is returned by the Word document for Word application object. And when we talk about the add method, that also takes 4 parameters that we want to omit. So they are specified by passing a reference variable containing the special type missing. We declare a variable known as missing, then we set to the type.missing and pass it by the reference to each parameter we want to omit. So object missing, type of missing, or word.document, the document, a document.document add, reference missing, reference missing, reference missing, reference missing. There are 4 parts of reference missing, and when this is used to create input file text, it is specified by the command line argument passed to our console application. Now we want to parse that text file to calculate the number of rows in the columns. And when we know the number of rows in the column, that is used, that rows and columns will be used for the document object for passing the optional parameters. Now when we talk about the number of the rows and the columns that we talk about, so that number of rows and columns are declared in the line of code to get a range object from the document object. And by passing our missing variable to the optional parameter, the range method will return a range that includes the entire text of the document. That entire text may be, we can say, the range object. That entire text may be the number of the rows and the columns. So this is by range document dot range reference missing and the reference missing. We then use our range object to add a table by calling the add method of the tables collection returned by the range object. And we pass the range object again as the first parameter to the add method to specify that we want to replace the entire content of the document, whatever the content we have, that is going to replace with the table. And we also specify the number of the rows and the columns in this. So this is word.table table range.table. We are giving the range that may be a 4 into 3, 3 into 4. 4 into 3 means 4 rows and the 3 columns. 3 into 4 means 3 rows and the 4 columns. Very good. The main thing is that first of all there is a row, then there is a column, and into is 4 by 4, 4 rows, 4 columns, 4 by 3, 4 rows, 3 columns. This has a cell also that takes a row and column that returns a cell object. And the cell object has a range property that have a range object also for the cell in question that we use to set the text and formatting of the cell. And whatever the code that we are using out, that sets out the cells of the table. And note that in most of the object or office object models, the indices are 1 based, meaning that this starts with the 1 as a minimum rather than the 0 based. Why? Because it is taken out as an array, in which the first element is taken out as 0. But here it starts with the 1 as a minimum. So this is for column index is equals to 1. It starts with the 1. Column index is less than equals to column count. This goes till column count. Then column index plus plus. Then word dot cell, cell table dot cell, row index, column index, cell dot range dot text, split row, column index. So these are the this is we can say the looping that starts with the 1, goes till the count, then plus plus, word dot cell, table dot cell, row index, column index, then cell dot range dot text, splits row, column index. This is the code to set the formatting of the table by setting the table to size to fit content and also bolding the header row that is shown. And we use the row object returned by the table.rows, which has a range property that returns a range object for that row in a question. So we use first of all the rows, then we use code table.rows1 range.gold, that is true, but that word object also expects int value 0 for the false and the 1 for the true, rather than a bool value. And this bold property doesn't return a bool because the range of the text could be all bold. Not all bold, we can say partially all bold. So there are 3 parts: not bold, partially bold, or all bold. So we also use the enumerated constant WD constant undefined to specify the partially bold case. This is rows 1 range dot bold 1 table dot autofit behavior word dot autofit behavior autofit content. Now finally we move to the end of the program that forces the word to quit without saving any changes. If you do not write this code, so Word will stay running after the console application exits. And when you show the Word window by setting the application object visible over trigger 2, this puts the lifetime of the application in the hands of the end user. So that word continues running, and to force the word to exit, you must call the exit method on the word's application object. And if this program does not or did not make the word window visible, say for example it created a document with a table, then it saves to a file without showing the word window. It would not have to call that quit because the word would exit when the program exit and release after it is released to the word document word object. And when we run the console application, you must create a text file that contains the text, then pass the file name of the text as a command line arguments to the console application. And you can also set up the debugger to do this by right-clicking on the word using the Solution Explorer and choose a properties. That is also used for the debugging method. And this debugging will be listed out in this figure in listing that you use to create this. This is the complete wiki format implementation that implements the system.collection.output, system.generic.output, system.text, system.input output, Microsoft Office.core, Microsoft.office.intro.work, Word Wiki, program, static word main, string ARGS, and this will be used with the application with the new Word.application. And the application.visible equals to true. That means it is going to be true, it is going to be make a text box that is visible to the user. Object missing, system.type.missing, word.document, the document, the application.document.add. Again, we have pop-ups, reference missing, reference missing, reference missing, and the reference missing. So this text reader, new system.input-output.stream reader, AHES. So when we talk about the string separators, new string 1, so this is separator 0 equals to double price, then row count 0, column count 0. This reads the rows and the calculates the number of columns in the rows. So system.collections.generate list string row list, new system.collections.generate list string. So there are two parts in this. So this method or this function will be going into the row list that contains the generate.list. Then row equals to reader.readline. Whatever the file we have, whatever data we have, that is used to make the arguments, that is used to make these files consistent with the setting of string row reader.readline, and while row is not equals to none. So if it is not equals to none, it is going to be add, that is around row count plus plus row list add row, and this is the first row, calculate the number of columns, whatever the columns we have. So that is row count equals to 1, string split header row split separator string split option dot none. And this ignores the first and the last separator, column count equals to split header row dot length equals to 2. And this split header row will be the length minus 2 that will be used to generate the row length, column length, header row. And the generate dot line. The row equals to reader.readline function. The next is creating a table. So word.range document.range, the transmission word.table range.tables.add, populate the table, column index equals to 1, row index equals to 1. And for each string are in row list, that will be used with the split row r.split, separator string split functions or options.map. Column